being seen as one of US's most fatal air crashes in modern history, nearly 70 people have died in the mid-air collision that took place in Washington, D.C. in the late hours of Wednesday evening. Now, this visual shows the freak collision that took place between an American Airlines flight and a US Army Black Hawk helicopter in the late hours of Wednesday evening near the Ronald Reagan National Airport. And it shows that both aircrafts, after the collision, plummet into the Potomac River. And because of the chilly weather in Washington, D.C. and the late hours when the air crash took place, it made rescue operations quite difficult. So now let's quickly break down how this collision in fact took place. So as you can see, the map on your screen shows the flight path of both the American Airlines flight 5342 as well as the US Army Black Hawk helicopter, and this is the approximate collision site on top of the Potomac River. Now, the US Army Black Hawk helicopter was coming from Virginia, Fort Belvoir, and it was on a training flight, while the American Airlines flight 5342 was coming from Wichita, Kansas, and it was in fact carrying various members and contestants of the US figure skating competition. And in fact, reports also revealed that there were 2 Russian figure skaters also on board. Now, the American Airlines flight was carrying roughly 60 people and 4 crew, and the Black Hawk Army helicopter was carrying roughly 3 people. And it collided, and this is the approximate collision site. Now, in terms of, as you can see, the region is very close to very key US buildings, the White House, US State Capitol, Pentagon. Now, speaking of the Pentagon, hours after the crash, the Pentagon launched a probe into the matter and has launched a probe to investigate what exactly happened and how this freak collision took place. Now, it is important to note that officials have now revealed that both aircrafts were in their standard flight pattern, and which indicates that there was nothing unusual about the path that both the US Army helicopter and the flight aircraft took. So, let's take a deeper look into what were the 2 aircrafts that were involved in this collision. Now, first is the American Airlines flight 5342. Now, this is an aircraft that was a Bombardier CRJ-700, which is one of the most common jets operating out of the Ronald Reagan Washington Airport, and is a regional jet which is frequently used on short to medium haul flights. This is a relatively smaller jet, as you can see the visual on your screen. Now, this aircraft was manufactured by Bombardier, a Canadian company, and this particular series, this model, the CRJ model, was in fact introduced 30 years ago, meaning that quite an established model of aircraft and is popularly used. Now, while this aircraft itself can carry up to 70 people, in this particular case, there were about 60 passengers on board and 4 crew. Now, the aircraft is roughly 106 feet wide, and it has a wingspan of 76 feet. So, again, a relatively smaller aircraft than others that are seen. Now, looking at the US Army helicopter, which is designated as PAT-25, this is a US Army UH-60 Black Hawk, which is built by Sikorsky, which Sikorsky aircraft is a part of the defense giant Lockheed Martin. Now, as I mentioned earlier, 3 US soldiers were on board during a training flight when this collision took place. And now, while the Pentagon has in fact revealed that a probe will be ordered, one will have to wait and watch to see what sort of details are revealed and what the new Trump administration will do to ensure that such incidents can be prevented in the future, as as Donald Trump in his reaction had said that he in fact assigned blame to the airport authorities and said that such incidents can be avoided. So one will have to wait and watch to see how the Trump administration acts on this.